Welcome back to 15 Lanes Top Game Week 3 Preview and Prediction Show. We are going to talk about all the big games that are happening this week, the derbies and the transfers that took place. Let's go! Let's start with Manchester United versus Burnley. Remember, Manchester United is going in this game with a lot of pressure on their shoulders. They lost to a first division team, Grimsby. In penalties, whereby in this game, Grimsby looked more like a top 6 team in the Premier League than a fourth division team. Manchester United struggled a lot against this team, which was totally unacceptable. And like many fans, plus me and other fans, were calling for Ruben Amorim's head. Like we said, he has to be sacked. You can't lose against Grimsby, not on any given day. That game between Grimsby and Manchester United had to kill that game in the first 15 minutes. But they gave Grimsby hope. Grimsby, by 30 minutes, it was leading Manchester United 2-0. And remember, also the ref came to the rescue of Manchester United. Maguire deflected the ball, or he passed the ball to a Grimsby player and he scored the third goal, but they ruled it out for offside. Ruben Amorim is a good coach, but he has refused to adjust. You understand? His system has failed him. And he's still cringing on the system. It's like, this is my way or the highway. And some of the talking points in the Grimsby game that may give Burnley some hope, because Burnley won their last game in game week 2 against Sunderland, which means they watched the Grimsby match and they started to analyze the game and they know where they can hurt Manchester United. And in Ruben Amorim's system, where also Fulham exploited, it's like he used the 3-4-3, whereby it's a man marking, it's man to man. Even the centre backs have to follow their man. Whereby in that game against Fulham exploited that. Because if you are going man to man, which means if the striker drops in deep, you're going to follow him and you will leave the space behind. Which means when Fulham was successful beating Manchester United press, Manchester United left space behind, which Fulham exploited, and now that's how they scored the goal. I think Burnley can use also the same tactics, and they watched the Grimsby game. Manchester United had to put fear in Burnley against the Grimsby game by just killing the game off in the first 15 minutes or in the halftime to kill the game off. Landslide win like 6-0, and they would have come to the Burnley game with a lot of confidence. But right now they are coming in the Burnley game with a lot of pressure. They are still looking for their first win of the season. Ruben Amorim may end up like Ange Postecoglou, because also Ange Postecoglou was a good coach for Spurs. But what let him down, he also sticks to his system, like of high press. We remember like in the 2023-2024 season, he played a high press against Chelsea with 9 men. Yet, if you remember, in that game, Spurs were leading that game. But this guy, instead of saying, okay, let's sit back and high press at some phases, but let's sit back, let's pick points here and we leave. And that game, Jackson and Sterling missed a lot of chances, but that game would have ended like even 15 goals. Because the guy stuck on his high pressing game. You are 9 men down. Why are you high pressing? Yet you are leading the game. You understand? He was like, that's one of the reasons maybe he was even fired. Because it is his way or the highway. And that's the same thing I see Ruben Amorim doing. It's his system or nothing. You understand? Because people have to adapt. You have to accept like the reality is there. The results show. Because football is a result business. The results are showing something else. Even if you are the players, there is that player mentality, blah blah. But at the end of the day, if you are not winning games, if you are not doing anything, they are going to fire you. So for me, I think Ruben Amorim is a top coach, and Manchester United right now, they are going to Burnley with a lot of pressure, and he needs results. If he loses against Burnley, everything is going down, he may resign because one 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 media house reported that Ruben Amorim may resign, is considering resigning. And let's see what happens. So will Burnley be the final nail in the coffin for him, or it will be the lifeline? We don't know what's going to happen there. And Sesko, this guy, Arsenal wanted this guy, and this guy came out and said, like, I never wanted to join Arsenal because I watched the game against Chelsea and Havertz performed. So his mentality is very poor. If you go in the Grimsby game, he was nowhere to be seen apart from him missing a volley and scoring the 10th penalty. You are the striker. How striker 80 million? How do you take the 10th penalty? It's meant to, whereby Maguire, I think Maguire took the third or fourth penalty. Yeah, but you're the striker in the team. You have to take the penalty. You can't take, like, okay, you just came in the team, but you had to take, okay, the 6th penalty. You understand? He had to take the 6th penalty, but he took the 10th penalty, which shows his mentality. His mentality is not good. He's a coward. I think he chose Manchester United because he knew there is Rasmus Højlund there, Zaxi, so he can compete. But in other teams like Arsenal, he was like, no, Havertz has performed, so I can't perform against this guy. For me, that was a red flag again for this guy, because this guy is bullied him. The Grimsby player bullying him like nothing. You understand? So Manchester United and Amorim are going in the game against Burnley with a lot of pressure. We don't know, will they get a win or a draw? But anything, it's a must win, because anything apart from a win, a lot more pressure is going to be on Amorim, and he may end up resigning. Chelsea versus Fulham. This is Chelsea's third North London derby in a row. The first game they played against Crystal Palace, they made a draw. The second game they played against West Ham last week, and they just won with a landslide win. Easy, no challenge from West Ham. Now they are heading to Fulham. Are they going to be able to replicate that? Or Fulham is a much better side than West Ham? Because we saw West Ham is struggling. They have already conceded 8 goals in 2 games. And Graham Potter now is on the sack watch. You may see Graham Potter being sacked. He may be the first manager, him and Amorim. They are competing for that spot, who is going to be sacked first. If we go on the other hand of Fulham, they're also still looking for their first win, because they made a draw in their first game. They played Manchester United and also got another draw. Right now against Chelsea, a London derby, will Fulham be able to get a win? Because last season they shared points between themselves. Chelsea won away at Fulham, and also Fulham won away at the Bridge. And if we go back in the game against West Ham, we saw Estavio came in for Cole Palmer, who was just injured in that game, and he put there a strong performance where he also became man of the match. Will he be able to do it against Fulham, a better side against Robinson, one of the best right back, one of the best left back in the league right now, Robinson of Fulham? So let's see what's going to happen in that game. And also, João Pedro, is he going to be able to look good again in the game against Fulham? Because it's a very important game. And Fulham, we know, as I've told you, they really need this to win. They can't go like Marco Silva. We know his team is resilient, and he's also a good coach. He's still looking for that win. So it's going to be a very good game to watch between Chelsea and Fulham, because one team is still looking for their first win, and it's a London derby, and in derbies everything is at stake in most derbies. So we may see a shock, we may see a draw, we may see anything happen, but Chelsea really looked good against a weak, struggling West Ham, but now they are facing a much better side. Spurs versus Bournemouth. Another interesting game to watch this week. We all know that Spurs destroyed Manchester City last week. They now have 2 wins and 2 clean sheets going into this game against Bournemouth. And Richarlison really looked good both games, and most especially against Manchester City. He was top notch. Let's go to Muhammad Kudus. Ever since he stepped in Spurs, he has not put any foot wrong. he's been performing every game. And Yao Paulinho, he be able to perform the way he performed against Manchester City. We all know his qualities. Yeah, we know the qualities he has. He's good at breaking up play. He's good at tackling. He's good in the air. He's good at many things. So they are going to play against Bournemouth. Bournemouth also, who have really looked good in 2 games. Even though they lost against Liverpool, but in that game they really looked good. Where Semenya scored 2 goals, and they went on ahead to win in their second game. So they are also looking for a second win. A perfect Tottenham start for also facing Bournemouth, who are looking for their second win in game week 2. And Spence, the Spurs left back right now, is calling out every Premier League winger. After their win against Man City, he went on his Instagram and called out, "Bring out your next winger," when he had just locked out Ryan Chucky, because Ryan Chucky was the one who played on the right-hand side that week against Spurs. Yeah. Manchester City versus Brighton. As Brighton, they are still looking for their first win. They are facing a wounded Man City that has a point to prove. Because we saw how Man City struggled a lot against Spurs, most especially in transition. And we also talked about Manchester City defense. Pep Guardiola, they are only 3 days left for the transfer to close, and we don't see any movement of Manchester City. That shows they are going to improve on their defense. Right now, their defense is their biggest problem. We saw it against Spurs. They played well against Wolves, because Wolves is a weak team and it's also a wounded team. That's not balanced at the moment. But when they played against Spurs, we saw Thomas Frank exploiting those weaknesses. Now they are going to face a tricky Bournemouth. That's also looking for their first win. They have already made two draws already. Now they are looking for their first. It will be a very tricky game. And in the game against Spurs, we saw Ryan Chucky was not looking good. Ryan Chucky and Tinaji Reinders, they did not look good against Spurs, because Spurs was a better side. And we know Brighton is not like Wolves. They are a far better side than Wolves. So are you going to see Ryan Chucky and Tinaji Reinders improving on their performances, or they are also going to suffer against Spurs? Because last season we saw when Baliba came in, they destroyed their midfield, and right now he will start against them this weekend. So Reinders is going to get a chance to face Carlos Baliba, and the positive against this game, it may come from the positive against Rodri may start this game. I think Rodri will start, and maybe Ederson will also start in goal. Yeah, I don't think Guardiola is going to make another mistake of starting Trafford, because Trafford had a disaster last day against Spurs. So let's see what's going to unfold against Manchester City and Brighton. But for me, I still think Manchester City, Brighton is going to try to exploit their defense. Even though with Rodri back, he may start this game. Yeah, roughly, it's sure he's going to start this game, but is he 100% fit? Is he going to be the Rodri we know, or will he struggle in some phases of play? The biggest game this week is between Arsenal and Liverpool. Both teams have had a perfect start, 100%, 2 wins out of 2. But let's start with Arsenal. Their last game, they won 5-0 against Leeds, but there was a problem in that game. They had a slow start, and their attack, the fluidity of the attack was not there. Yeah, they don't want to release Gyökeres very early. They like to pass a lot sideways, backward, sideways. Yeah, so that's one of the problems right now that's facing Arsenal. Both teams, they have their problems. Arsenal right now, they have a problem in fluidity of their attack. The attack, with the coming of Eze, are we going to see something different? Yes, because even Eze, in some of the interviews he made, he was like, he needs freedom. If he's given freedom to express himself, he can damage teams, he can do everything. Is Arteta going to give Eze the freedom Oliver Glasner was giving him at Crystal Palace, or he's going to make him play on the handbrake, to touch the line, to play robotic football? So that Eze may be one of the point of differences in this game, because the two games Arsenal has played so far against United, at least against United, when they scored first and they just had to sit back and they had to hold the pressure of United. Against Leeds, we saw they were also there struggling till when they scored the goal. They won 5-0, but the game was not that interesting. You understand? So the fluidity of Arsenal's attack will be an issue or a factor in this game. And on the other side of Liverpool played against Newcastle where they won. They needed a miracle from Rio to win the game against Newcastle, because Newcastle was the better team in that game. It pressed, it did everything right, but Liverpool, with the God-given chances, it came out on top. But also the biggest problem for Liverpool going this game against Arsenal is it's on their defense. This season we have seen their defense. They have already conceded 4 goals out of the 2 games, 2 against Newcastle and 2 against Bournemouth. They are going in this game, both teams have issues. One has a problem of attack fluidity and the other has a problem of defense. Their defense is lacking, is struggling out of these first 2 games we have watched. And on the other hand, like, I don't know if Conor Bradley came back, but is Arne Slot going to take the risk to play again, suppose like as a right back, or is going to use their Gomez? Because even Gomez was there in the game against Newcastle, but he was not used at the right back. So are we going to see in this game Gomez as the right back, or Conor Bradley, who just came back from the hamstring injury, or Arne Slot is going to be stubborn like Ruben Amorim and he plays their Szoboszlai? Because we saw Szoboszlai locking down Harvey Barnes, and if we go back in most games, the recent games or the past games between Arsenal and Liverpool, their best player has always been Konate. These 2 games between Bournemouth and Newcastle, we have seen Konate has not been at his best, making Liverpool a lot of questions on the Liverpool attack. And Liverpool, I think the biggest positive for Liverpool is the Bukayo Saka got injured and is not going to play, because Kakes was not going to have a good day. Yeah, the start, Kakes has had a slow start, and for me, I don't trust Noni Madueke. Yeah, and he's the guy who is going to play on that left hand side for Arsenal. So Arsenal have had 2 blows. First, Odegaard is still doubtful, but Bukayo Saka for him. Odegaard is doubtful, but Bukayo Saka and Havertz are already confirmed that they won't be playing in this game. But on the other hand, for Liverpool, yeah, we have to see, is Roland Vaz going to have a good game, because he has also struggled here since joining Liverpool. These first 2 games, they were too physical for him, and Arsenal, their midfield, Rice is a horse, is very physical. I don't know about Zubmendi, is not that physical, so maybe we may have a chance to see Roland Vaz flourishing in this game. And he has had a slow start in these 2 games. And Victor Gyökeres, yes, he played against Leeds where he scored 2 goals. Now he's going to face real men in Konate, even though Konate is lacking right now, and Van Dijk. Yeah, but these are top defenders right now. We are going to see, is he going to be able to score, and are Arsenal going to use him the way they need to use him? Are they going to drop balls in space? Because the guy makes a lot of good runs, but the Arsenal players just like to pass sideways, backside, sideways, blah blah, all that. So in this game, there are 2 players we need to see. On the side of Arsenal is Victor Gyökeres and Eze. Is Eze going to be influential in this game? We don't know. And on the Liverpool side, yeah, they won't be. Yeah, Philpong got a hamstring injury and won't be there. So Szoboszlai is the guy who's going to be there. So this game is going to rely. This game, both teams have their issues. One has a problem of defense and another one has the problem of attack fluidity. So that's where the problem is going. And on the other side, the defense of Arsenal is strong and the attack of Liverpool is strong, because we have seen Hugo Ekitike scoring already in three starts for Liverpool. Mohamed Salah was quiet against Newcastle, and he's always quiet against Arsenal, but from nowhere he scores. Gapco, since he has faced Arsenal, I've not seen too much impact he causes in the games facing Arsenal. The guy who used to punish Arsenal a lot was Diego Jota. Every time Arsenal faced Liverpool with Diego Jota would punish Arsenal. And Ryan Gravenberch, when he played against Newcastle, we saw him. He really looked good. And is he going to look good again against Arsenal? Because this is the biggest game of the week. Which team is going to continue with the perfect start, or are they going to make a draw? For this week, Chelsea versus Fulham, both teams score. Manchester United versus Burnley, both teams will score. Sunderland versus Brentford, I think Brentford will win. Spurs versus Bournemouth, both teams will score. Wolves versus Everton, both teams will score. Leeds versus Newcastle, I think I'll go with a win for Newcastle. Manchester City versus Brighton, I think both teams will score. West Ham versus Forest, I think Forest will win and Graham Potter is going to be sacked. Arsenal versus Liverpool, both teams will score. Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace, I think both teams will score.